to item number 4. Action on a proposed resolution authorizing expenditures for the conversion to automatic collection trash and recyclables. Well, I should read that one again. File resolution 2012-878. John, you're up again.
Thank
We're
you.
talking trash now, right?
Talking trash. I'm still the very happy operations director.
Okay.
Hopefully those pictures of Rotary will be the only snow that we see this year.
And you're just loving it, aren't you?
I'm loving it, yeah. Okay, so, what did I do here? File resolution 2012-878 authorizes the administration to expend up to $3.15 million to facilitate the conversion from manual collection of trash and recyclables to fully automated collection. The resolution commits the City Council to include up to this amount in the 2012 general obligation note issue. These funds will be utilized for collection equipment upgrades and for the purchase of the wheeled carts that are necessary for automated collection. About $2.8 million, a majority of the borrowed funding will be used for the purchase of the carts. 2 carts will be issued to each household, one for trash, one for recyclables, for a total of about 48,000 carts. About $100,000 will be used to retrofit 4 existing collection vehicles. Those vehicles were purchased in 2009, and they were designed and constructed so that they could be retrofitted. It was in anticipation, actually, of converting only to single-stream recycling at the time. But we do have 4 units that can be retrofitted. About $170,000 of the funding would go to supplement vehicle operation and maintenance fund capital for the replacement of 5 vehicles or 5 vehicles in the VOM, as we affectionately call it, the VOM fund. Technically, the fund doesn't have the necessary capital, hasn't collected the necessary capital over the useful years of these trucks to pay for the upgrade to the automated collection equipment. So these funds are necessary to supplement that capital. And there's $100,000 needed for the net cost of replacing 2 other collection vehicles, which will be replaced by a single automated collection vehicle. So we're actually eliminating 1 vehicle from our collection fleet here. These 2 vehicles were purchased in 2008, but they cannot be retrofitted with for automation. A little bit of background: the 2012 Sanitation Fund budget that was adopted by the council provides for the conversion to automated collection of waste. This includes savings, again this is in the 2012 budget, savings in operating costs of approximately $50,000 and an increase in revenue from the sale of recyclable materials of $7,000. And the increase in revenue comes from the conversion to single-stream recycling. We should collect more recyclables under that type of a program. The budget document also references the capital expenditures that we're talking about tonight. The anticipated date of conversion is October 1st of 2012. We're hoping to make that. That's a fairly tight schedule from an equipment standpoint. There's long lead times for the purchase of the collection equipment, which is why why the resolution was drafted and requires a commitment to that future funding to be included in the GO note issue. Vendors of refuse collection equipment generally cannot provide that equipment under 180 days from the date of order. What is automated collection? We did present this information to the council at the budget study session. Automated collection uses remotely controlled mechanical arms to lift a specially designed wheeled cart, dumping the contents of the cart into the body of the collection vehicle. The mechanical arm is operated from the cab of the collection vehicle and eliminates the need for manual lifting of waste containers. Again, the proposal here is to issue 2 carts to each residence, 1 for trash and 1 for recyclables. This is generally the design of a typical cart that's used in automated collection. Collection vehicles with mechanical arms are utilized to empty the carts. This is the type of vehicle that the city's looking at. This particular vehicle is our preference at this point in time. It has a 12-foot reach on the arm. What are some of the benefits of automation? Experience elsewhere indicates that lost time injuries and worker compensation claims will be significantly reduced or eliminated. Over the last 11 years, the city has an annualized average in workers' comp claims over $48,000. We've had years as low as $1,900 and some over a couple of $100,000 in claims from injuries. Automation also benefits the conversion to single-stream collection of recyclables. That's where all of recyclable materials, paper and containers, can be placed into a single collection cart. Experience, again, in other cities indicates that when you convert to that type of single-stream recycling collection, the amount of material that communities collect can increase generally about 20 to 25%. Some communities have experienced even higher increases. Another benefit, the aesthetics and cleanliness in the neighborhoods it's associated with the containers themselves. Again, all of the waste would be containerized. These carts are generally critter-proof. Raccoons and possums and squirrels generally can't get in them. So litter is reduced as a result of that waste being containerized and animals not being able to get at the waste. And it also provides a uniform appearance. If you've driven into a community that has fully automated cart collection, it's a drastic difference from what you see on collection day here or in those communities that don't have it. Wheeled containers are generally easy for customers to get to the curb. There are some exceptions, individual exceptions to that. Certainly easier than our current set of recycling bins that we haul to the curb. There are some challenges with automation. All waste needs to be placed in the containers in order to be collected. This will be seen by some as a reduction in service. Areas with limited off-street parking can be problematic, although those problems generally aren't insurmountable. And there will be times where you'll have occasional higher volumes of waste. The holidays, you might clean out your garage or your basement, and that waste may not be accommodated by a single collection container. But there are some strategies that people can implement to deal with that. Why are we suggesting automation now? The city is uniquely positioned to convert its entire fleet to facilitate automation. Again, we've got 4 existing vehicles which can be retrofitted. And we've got 5 other collection vehicles that are scheduled for replacement here in 2012. Automation is certainly the industry trend. It's been the trend for quite some time in the private sector. Public sector is catching up to that. And it's primarily due to the increase in collection efficiency that's realized and the reduction in workers' compensation claims. And really, automation here in Janesville now has become cost competitive with our current system of collection. And in 2012, there's actually a reduction in savings. This is a reduction in expenditures. This is a short version of the table that was included in the council packet and compares our current system with the proposed fully automated system and continued biweekly collection of recycling. If you look at the 2012 budget line, the cost per household per month is $6.18. That's with an October 1 implementation date. So it is somewhat reduced from the current system, which is $6.38 per ton. Come 2013, and even under a full year of operating the automated system, 2013 is when the debt service on the capital funding for the carts and the equipment upgrades will kick in. So the debt service payments slightly more than offset the savings that we realize in the operational efficiencies. So the difference is about 17 cents more per household per month for automated collection. And these are in 2012 dollars. Lastly, single stream collection, we've been wanting to convert to that for some time, but we had difficulties under our prior contract with the vendor who processed and marketed our recyclable materials. We now have a new contract in place which really facilitates our move to single stream. It's much more cost effective for us to do it at this stage, and actually I'm pretty excited about this part of it. Single stream collection is really the way to go. So I'd be more than happy to answer any questions that you might have.
I've got all sorts of lights on here. First one up is Councilmember Voskuhl.
Thanks, John, for the presentation. The way that the resolution is written is to expend up to $3,150,000. My first question is, what type of variation in cost do you anticipate?
Well, when we put these numbers together for the budget, again, remembering that most of that cost is in the carts, we did contact several vendors to get pricing at the time, general pricing at the time for the carts, and this number is reflective of the cost of the carts at that time. We've seen some drop in that since, but plastic that's used in the manufacturing of the carts is a commodity, and prices can actually fluctuate monthly. Excuse me. So we're hopeful that we'll see a reduction from what we had budgeted for, but we really won't know until we actually sign and purchase the carts.
Well, now that you mentioned carts, that was my next question. A lot of the comments that I've been receiving are the size of the carts. Are there multiple sizes? I don't have as much garbage as my neighbor across the street. So could you talk a little bit about that?
This authorization does not commit the council to anything in the way of the size of carts, the type of carts at this stage. And we need to bring that information back to the council as to what will be the default size cart for folks, what size options will be available, and things like that. So there's a few things that we still have to bring back from an operational standpoint, but we need to get going on stuff if we're going to make the conversion, particularly the trucks, because of the long lead times on the trucks.
And what won't change is the number of carts, in that you would have one cart for garbage and one cart for recycle.
Right. It could change if you know, there will be instances where people may need an additional cart on top of the two that are issued, and again, that's another operational thing that we'll have to have some recommendation for council on how to deal with the larger volume households as well. So.
And then my last question, because I don't want to keep anybody else's. Mr. Lembrick mentioned bags. You don't put bags in those carts, correct?
I think
general
right,
bag.
A liner
Thank you.
bag. No, generally not. I've not seen that. You can still bag your waste. You can put the bags in there. You can put loose refuse in there. Either's fine.
Thank you.
Okay, Councilmember Liebert.
All right. Well, thank you, John, for the presentation. Like I said, Councilmember Voskuhl, so things like the sizes and that have yet to be decided. Will that also come back to us then on, you know, what if someone, like you said, needs extra bins for larger households, or replacements, or if they want to buy or purchase more? That's still in the...
All of that will come forward
Okay.
yet to council.
Now, you said this streamlines recycling. I know that there's a kind of a plastic number on different items and bottles. What do we currently accept up to? I know Madison or Dane County recently went up to 7, the number 7. I don't know what we currently accept.
Right. Currently, we accept number 1 and number 2 plastics. We are working with our existing vendor to try and expand that. Probably the next step is to include up to plastic number 5, or number 5 in addition to number 1 and 2. A lot of it has to do with markets and availability markets and volume of material that you're collecting. So it's hard for us to drive the markets in that regard. But we continue to try to work with, like we did with our last vendor, to expand that.
And and so we're looking to retrofit 4 of our current vehicles and purchase an additional 5 to phase out these old ones. Is that correct? For a total of 9?
There's 4 that we're retrofitting. There are 5 that are scheduled for replacement in 2012. And then there's we'll be replacing 2 vehicles that were purchased in 2008 and replacing those 2 with a single collection vehicle. So we'll have a total of 10 in the fleet. We currently have 11.
Okay. And I was just wondering if you could just briefly talk about the difference between what we'll be doing. And I know in some cities, I'm familiar with Economy Walk, they have a system where they'll drive to a central area with a larger collection truck and then have these smaller collection ones for the automated. Is there any financial difference, or do they have to hire more staff because they have to have more trucks out? How do you know the difference between those two systems?
Generally what drives that is a long haul distance to a landfill or a transfer center. You know, we have the luxury of having a very short haul to our landfill for disposal of things. And
on Milwaukee, they probably contract to a larger city, Waukesha, Milwaukee, or somewhere else, and then they probably have to contract and haul it out where, like you said, we're fortunate enough to have our own.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, Councilmember Rashkin.
Thank you. John, no problem. Let's see. Where do I begin? First of all, what is the implementation date on this change that you anticipate?
We're shooting for October 1st.
Next, organic waste. Is that something that was considered?
No, I think we'll watch Dane County or the city of Madison in that regard. They're going to be implementing separate organics collections. You know, anytime you're adding a separate collection, you're adding significant cost, and I think they'll be kind of the pilot study for the state relative to that.
All right. Are there cities where this approach with automated garbage pickup has not worked?
I'm not aware of any.
Okay. Let's see. I got this, well, all of us got this email with a lot of questions, and I think a lot of them are going to get sorted out through just dealing with this situation, because I think when you have something that's brand new and different, there's going to be a lot of confusion, but I think a lot of it is going to get sorted out very fast as people use it. However, first of all, what concerns do you have? Are there concerns associated with this, or is this just kind of a clear?
Oh, sure. Yeah, this is a big change, and it's affecting every household in the community. So this, ensuring a smooth transition. A big part of this is education and information, and we actually began meeting. I think even before the council approved the concept via the budget, internally to talk about the mechanisms that we'll use and that are available to us to inform and educate about the program. And if you find one common theme in the conversion in other communities where they've done this, is you can't get too much information out there. So we're very focused on educating, getting information out there, and trying to make as smooth a transition as possible. Operationally, there's concerns with any sort of change in methodology, but we've done a lot of research on this. There's been again, this is the industry trend. There have been a lot of communities that have made the conversion that we've talked to and learned from. So all of these things, will help us in this regard.
All right. And just a suggestion that was mentioned in the email is that perhaps in the educational efforts, it's possible to take the truck and bring it to some of our community festivals and to show how the system works. It may sound kind of, but I think there's something to be said for that.
We actually talked about that this morning, getting a collection vehicle and some carts in the Memorial Day Parade and Labor Day Parade, and
Perfect.
maybe the Public Works Week would be another good opportunity. We should
Up with candy and like.
yeah, right.
Yeah, just don't be grabbing anybody that's on the sidelines with it there.
All right. Thank you.
Councilmember McDonald.
John, I have 2 questions written down here. First one, and I don't know if this is something that you guys have talked about yet or if this is something that will come from later discussions, but have there been any thoughts on who pays for replacement carts? Somebody's cart breaks, is that going to be the homeowner? Is that going to be the city?
Most of the cart manufacturers offer 10-year warranties on these carts. They're very durable. Most of the manufacturers have carts out there that are at least 10 years old, some 15, some even 20-year-old carts. So they're very durable. We're primarily looking at 3 vendors. All 3 of those vendors offer a 10-year warranty. So hopefully your warranty work is limited in those 3 years, even in the cold environs that we can sometimes experience, most oftentimes experience. Those carts are still very durable, despite the cold and the pounding that they get from the automated arms. So beyond the warranty claims, there are some issues that can come up. We can break them in the act of emptying them, in which case it's an operating expense really for the city then to replace that cart. It's pretty rare, I think, that a resident damages a cart in some fashion. So hopefully, through that warranty period, everything's covered. Beyond that, at some point, you're looking to replace carts, probably through another effort such as this. But some of that will get fleshed out a little more when we come back with some of the other operational things.
Okay, so
Did that answer your question?
it did, but then it brought up a follow-up question, of course, which is that, and you started to get into it there at the end, but if the carts have a 10-year warranty, is the city then looking at this type of a similar expense 10 or 15 years down the road? I mean, basically, if this is borrowed on a 10-year note, by the time that one's paid off, now we're going to shell out money to redo the whole thing again?
I wouldn't see it as a wholesale replacement. You'll probably see intermittent replacement over time beyond that 10 years. Again, a lot of these manufacturers have carts that are out there that are 15 and 20 years old, so they are very durable.
Okay, and then, well, with that intermittent replacement then, would people just be able to go to city services like you do now and pick up a recycle bin, or would residents be charged as they look to replace the cart on an individual basis?
That's a good question. If a cart is damaged, people will need to call the city services center and will either repair or replace. How that's financed is a bigger question down the line that I think is some of the stuff we'll flesh out when we come back.
Okay. Then the other question or line of questions, hopefully just a question, where do or are there any options for all the current trash cans?
One of the vendors that we're talking with now does have a recycling program for both the old recycling bins and trash collection containers. I don't know if all of the vendors offer that, but we know one of the vendors that we're looking at does offer a program for that. And there's various ways that communities have handled that, particularly on the recycling bin side. While the vendor is out distributing the carts, they can also provide collection of the old containers. You can set up drop-off locations. Various city facilities can act as drop-off locations, and then those old recycling bins, will get recycled, and we know one vendor has a recycling program for trash containers as well.
All right. Thank you. Those were my questions. And I guess I just had a couple other comments. And I think the biggest one is that this is obviously a huge price tag. I mean, $3.15 million is a lot of money to spend. This, I think, is also, in terms of what I see here, the time to do this. And this is a priority project. And we're talking about one of the city's core services. We're talking about trash pickup. And so with that in mind, I will make a motion to approve file resolution 2012-878.
Okay, we have a motion by Councilmember McDonald, second by Councilmember Voskuhl. Okay. Tom, do you have anything else?
Nope.
Kathy? I just had one quick question for you and a comment. First of all, I remember in our study session we had talked about the size of the trash cans. The footprint would be essentially the same size, or possibly even smaller than the existing recyclable bin. If I'm not correct, it would just be taller.
The graphic that we provided at that time showed a footprint on one of the manufacturer's carts that would be similar to 2 recycling bins.
Two recycling
Yeah, it was 2
bins.
recycling
Okay.
bins.
I just know that there was some talk about sizing at the time. And then the other thing is, will we still have a drop-off site where people can take their recyclables like we have right now?
That's always been operated at the discretion of Waste Management, and we're no longer under contract with them. It wasn't a contractual part of our contract with them to process and market our materials. So that drop-off operation really remains at their discretion.
Thank you. Councilmember Liebert?
Yeah, I just had a follow-up to Council President Stieber's dimension question on the on the trash cans. When as you do start to move forward and look for vendors and look to come back to us to pick one of those 3 that we're looking at, if it's possible, and I'm sure the company would be more than happy to bring an actual one in so that we could see it. And
We already have them. They've all.
And you didn't bring show and tell today, huh?
Yeah, the best setting is actually outside, because when you wheel one into a closed room, even the small ones look a little intimidating. But you know, this is the first stage in conversion from the public's perspective is the container size issue. Just about every community that we've talked to has experienced the same things that we're experiencing right now. Or the first concern is the size of the containers, and I'm confident we'll come back to the council with a program that will work and that's acceptable and that the public will appreciate.
well, thank you for all your work on this. Who would have thought trash could be so exciting? Thanks, John.
Councilmember Rashkin.
All right. I just want to make a comment that I look forward to supporting this motion. I, for a long time, lived in a community that utilized that automatic garbage pickup, and to me, this is just kind of something that you would expect to see in a first-class city. And so I'm glad to see us making that step. When I first came to Janesville, I was a little confused by the way the garbage was picked up. And but you know, again, I get used to it, and I go, well, of course, that's how we need to do it. So, but I think this is great. The other thing that people sometimes overlook is, frankly, a little bit of more privacy that residents will gain through this way of picking up garbage, which is much more private, because everything goes into a big bin. It is closed, and I think people will find that to be, frankly, a benefit. So,
Okay. We have a motion by Councilmember McDonald and a second by Councilmember Voskuhl to adopt file resolution number 2012-878. Seeing no further questions, council please vote. And that passes unanimously.